Hi guys, welcome to this new video on Node Express MongoDB tutorial series. In this video, I will talk about how we can add relationships between multiple Mongoose models. Currently, you know that we have two models, Node model and the user model. So I will be showing you how we can create APIs so that it returns the nodes created by particular logged in user. And currently, as you know that if we go to the nodes controller, this is an API that returns all the nodes without caring about that which users create a particular node. Okay, we are going to be creating API that will return the nodes which is created by a particular logged in user. So if we log in with user 1, it will return only nodes that will be created by a particular logged in user. So before I start working on these files and adding a relationship, just want to let you know quickly that I have created a video, Advanced Postman complete course, and in this video I've talked about testing APIs, documentation, setting headers, environment variables, writing scripts directly inside the Postman. The reason I have not created this video in this playlist of Node Express MongoDB because the APIs can be created in other technologies as well, like the Python, .NET or the Rails. So all of those people can watch this video to test their APIs and create documentation. It is a must watch video. Go check out this playlist. I've given the link of this playlist in the description of this video, and also if you want, go check out the other videos in this playlist as well. So let's come back, and first of all, there are two approaches that we can adopt in order to create relationship between the node model and the user model. One way is that we come to this user model and we create an array of nodes like the nodes, and we can actually give the reference of each node like the node 1, node 2. These are the IDs of the nodes. Okay, so we do and follow this approach when we expect that there will not be much number of nodes against one user, like it can have 50 or 100 nodes. But in case you feel like that there can be thousands of nodes created by a one user, then there is another approach that we can use. So the other approach is that we go to a node model, and in here every node that will be created will have a reference to the user, that this node was created by this particular user. So that will not be an array, that will be directly a single property of user. Okay, so in this model I'm going to be creating one property. So let's come here, and in this object I'm going to create a new property called the user, and in this property we need to refer another model in our project. So one way to add a reference to another model in our project is we write the type, and after that we write mongoose dot schema dot types dot object id. Okay, and then we need to give the reference that which model this object id should be against. So I'm going to write a ref and the name of that model, and the name of that model is the user, and it should be exactly the same name which we add over here, this one, the name of that model that we create. Okay, and let's make it required. So whenever a node is created, it should be required that user should be logged in and it should be against a particular user. So I'm going to add a required property same as the other properties on this model. All right, so now it is required, and now if we go to our user model, we don't need to do anything and create inside it. Let's go to the nodes route, and inside it I will be creating another route, let's say a user's nodes, and I will be creating another API in this controller that will return all the nodes created by a particular logged in user. Okay, first of all, let's come here. I want to actually make all these routes protected, that nodes should be added, created, deleted when they are logged in, the user is logged in. So I'm just going to copy protect data. I didn't do that before in the previous videos. If you have not done this by yourself, I would recommend you to do this, because this is what we expect. We want users to log in first to see all the nodes which are created by them. So inside it, first of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a node with a particular user. So currently this is an API. Let's come down. This is a create node API, and this API is actually creating a new node, but it is not creating a node against a particular user if the user is logged in or not. Okay, so I need to make some changes in this try block. So let's try to first fetch. I'm going to just comment this line, const title, description, and priority. Okay, and it is coming from request.body. And then let's try to fetch the user. I cannot actually pass that user ID or user details directly from request.body because we don't want that details to be passed every time we need to fetch this API by the client side. And currently our client is Postman, as you know. Since we need to have this protected route, which we added over here, auth controller, let me show you this one. This is the protected route, this one. And at the end of this controller, you see that we are actually passing the reference of the user. So whenever this protected route is going to get triggered, then the whole user data should be added in the request object. Okay, and this is how we can fetch the user's detail and if the user is logged in. Okay, so we have already added its protected data over here while creating a new node. So I'm going to fetch this user data, so user ID, and it should be coming from the request.user ._id. Okay, now we have 4 required properties from the model of this nodes and the logged in user. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new variable, new node equals to await node dot create, and inside it I'm going to pass the title, then the description. If the name is same, I don't need to give it 2 names. So after the description, I can pass the priority, and then I can pass the user and then the user ID, because this is the name which I've added in the model and this is the variable I have added over here. Okay, and inside it I'm already passing the new node. Now let's go ahead into the Postman and try to create a new node and see if the user reference which is logged in is actually gets an ID for each node we create or not. Okay, so I'm just going to save this file and I'm gonna go in the Postman. First of all, I'm going to log in again in the Postman because there is a chance that the token is already expired. So let's go to our Postman, and I'm gonna open up the login user, and this user is already existing in my database, and let's try to send, and this user is logged in. And since we have protected all of our routes for getting the nodes, I have already created this API post nodes, as you know, and inside it I don't need to pass the user ID over here because I can fetch the user by passing the logged in user access token over here. Okay, so make sure you save it, and then I'm going to pass this data which is required in the node model. And let's try to create this my new node 4, and this is my new node, priority is 8, and let's try to send. Duplicate, this name is already existing, so let's try to add 6 over here. So let's send, and now you can see that this new node is created and it has a reference of user ID which is logged in. That's awesome. So we are done with creating our node by the user which is logged in. Now let's go ahead, and this is the new API that I have created, and I will be naming it users nodes, and I'll be creating a new controller as well. Let's try to update this auth token here as well so that we don't need to change it later on. So here in this controller, I'm going to add a new API and I'm going to name it get nodes by user. So let's go up, and here I'm going to create a new node. So exports dot get nodes by user. Okay, and just like other, I can pass the async, request, response. I don't need this next function over here. and inside it I'm going to add, let's try to copy this whole block of code by this, so we don't need to write this obvious code. And inside it, first of all, what I need to do is I need to fetch the user ID which is logged in. So request.user underscore ID. So this is the user ID that I have found. Let's try to change its name. And then I'm going to fetch the nodes by this particular ID. Okay. So I'm going to use a function node.find. So let's try to write const nodes await node.find and then user colon user ID. Okay, so now we need to pass this nodes in this data. So we see the output and this error nodes unable to fetch the nodes by logged in user, try again. Okay, so let's save it. We need to create its API in the nodes route now. So inside it, I'm going to just create a new route. Let's try to fetch that over here. So get nodes by user. Okay, and here I'm going to create nodes router and then the route, and after that I need to copy the name of that API, so it is the user's nodes. All right, and after this I need to add get, let's try to add the protect data get nodes by user. I don't want any post request for this. This is the get request only. So yeah, that's it. Now let's try to save this file and I hope that it will work. Now what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm not going to pass the user ID because I will fetch it by the logged in user, the access token buff of the user, and then I'm going to fetch the nodes which are created by a particular user. So here I've already pasted the access token of the logged in user, and now I'm going to hit send. And yes, this is all the nodes which I created by this user before with the same name. So let's try to add a new node and let's see if it exists in this array or not. Okay, so I'm gonna go and this API, and this is, let's try to create a new user so you don't get confused. I'm gonna go create user, and I'm going to add the 111 after the email, and it should create a new user with the role admin. Let's try to create it, and this new user have been created in the database, and let's try to copy this email and click here, and I'm going to add it over here. Let's verify if the password is the same hello world, and it should be the hello world. Okay, and now I'm going to send, and this new user is logged in now. Let's try to copy this auth token, and I'm gonna go to this get nodes first. Let's try to fetch it over here first before creating it. Okay, so let's try to call this API, and now you can see that I have not created a single node which by this user which I have just created. Okay, so let's go to the post nodes, and I'm going to update this auth token over here, and I'm going to create the new node with this user. So the node title should be unique, and so this is my new node by new user. Okay, so now if I create this new node, the node should have at most, so there is a check on the maximum characters. So let's send. Now this new node have been created by this user, and it has this ID. Now I'm already logged in, and let's try to get the nodes by the logged in user which I have just created. Let's send, and now you can see that this is a new node which is created by directly this user which is logged in. Let's try to create another node. So I'm going to add 2. Let's send, And let's go and try to fetch all the nodes created by this user. You can see that there are two nodes by this users. This is awesome. So we have learned the relationship between the multiple models in Mongoose, which is the node model and the nodes model. It can have a lot of more models if we create other big applications like the e-commerce app or a CRM or the SaaS product. Then we can have a lot of relationship between multiple models. In this tutorial series, I will not be creating a video that consists of a lot of models. The reason is that I see a lot of developers who wants to learn a new technology by a tutorial series. If they found that at the end of tutorial series, they try to understand and learn the much advanced topic, they try to they usually forget what they have learned in the first videos of that tutorial series. So considering the mindset and the psychology of the new learners, I'm not creating that advanced level of relationship between models in this particular tutorial series. But it does not mean that I will not be creating and teaching you how we can create a complex relationship between multiple models. Let's say 10, 12 or 20 models exist in an application. So in the upcoming videos in the future, I'm going to create the projects like the big blog application using the Node Express MongoDB, or the create APIs documentation, or a complete API system for the e-commerce project. In that project videos, I will be teaching you these complex topics. In this crash course, I don't want you guys to forget what we have learned so far. So guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, as I request you in every video, that subscribe my channel. I'm putting a lot of effort creating these videos. And thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, comment below if you have any question. Thank you so much for watching.